Hi, and welcome back to the channel if you are a subscriber, or welcome to an all new practice if you're brand new to this channel. Today we have a short and lovely Yin Yoga sequence that will get right into those targeted hips. So let's go ahead and take a seat right in the center of our mat. Cross one leg in front of the other. And we'll just take this first couple of moments to just check in with ourselves. Take your time, find your comfortable seat. And when you're there, the hands can come to rest on top of the knees. Maybe the eyes start to close. Sitting up tall with the crown of the head reaching up for the ceiling. Feel the length of the spine as you travel down your back. And then you reach the sacrum and notice that connection with the mat. Allow yourself to settle in. And to take a moment just to find that awareness within our body. Notice how you're feeling today. Perhaps start with the physical and notice, are you hot? Are you chilly? Are you slightly uncomfortable to start with? As we move through the practice, you may find yourself moving more deeply into your awareness and settling into your emotions. Do you find yourself hanging on to irritations, whether they're small or large? Perhaps an anxiety or some worry has caught a hold of you. Within our practice, we allow our awareness to keep us in the present, but we give ourselves permission to not make any judgment on how we're feeling or the thoughts that pop into our head every now and then. To bring yourself back into a sense of ease, just reroute your focus to the gentle inhale and the exhales. If you need an extra source of connection with the breath, you could always take one or both hands to the belly and find that rise and fall. Let yourself be part of that gentle, calming, wave-like action. And as you tap into the serenity of your breath, take that from pose to pose today. We'll gently start to open the eyes and we'll prepare ourselves for our very first pose of this sequence, and that is for a supported bridge. So I suggest having 1, maybe 2 blocks, or you can always do this with just flat on your back on your mat. So start to roll down onto your mat very gently so that your back is flat on the mat. The soles of the feet are down. And you can stay right here with the heels maybe just about reaching the fingertips. Adjust the foot position to whatever is comfortable. And you can stay here fully connected to the mat. But if you would like to have a little bit more lift into the hips and to feel more open on the front side of the hips, you can place 1 block underneath the sacrum. Again, it should be under the tailbone so that you're fully supported. Avoid placing the block under the lower back. That can cause some back pain. And we'll just start here and relax with our supported bridge. Whether you started on the floor or maybe you started with 1 block, after we hold for about a minute, perhaps you feel like you would like to lift. So either going from the floor up to 1 block, or maybe if you're on 1 block, perhaps you would like to take the 2nd block. As you do come into any higher heights and take those options, just make sure that the back of the neck is still nice and long and that you're not scrunching and the chin isn't forcing into your upper chest or your sternum. You should still have a nice open space into the chin and the front of the throat. Once more, returning back towards your breath. For this sequence, we just allow our breath to be. No special pauses on the inhales or exhales. No need to create extra length on the inhales or exhales. We're just gently relaxing and enjoying the way we are. To come out of this bridge pose, we're going to push into the mat with our feet and lift our hips just enough so that we can pull those blocks out from underneath us. And then slowly, if you were lifted, we'll lower the spine all the way back down to the mat. Remember, with every time we come out of a pose in our Yin Yoga classes, we should do so with tenderness and care. Go ahead and pause with your back flat to the mat. Maybe take 1 hand to the belly, perhaps crossing the other hand on top. We'll take 2 nice breaths here. And to move to our next pose, you can either slowly roll onto your side, but if you would like to just take a slow rock up to a seated position, you can take the hands behind the knees, curl the chin, And then just slowly give yourself a couple of rocks until you come up to a seated position. From here, we'll cross the ankles underneath us, pass through a tabletop position, and then go ahead and push back into a downward facing dog. We're just pausing here just to feel the wonderful effect of having that stretch into the back of the legs in our down dog. You can certainly start with both of the knees deeply bent and then pedal one foot at a time. Start to walk your dog. Just fully waking up the body. And if you feel like you have room enough to settle, you can press both the heels back down onto the mat. Lift the tailbone up to the sky. Push deeply into the mat with the hands. And then from here, we're going to pick up that right foot, draw the right foot behind the left ankle, and then come down into our swan pose. Or if you're familiar with vinyasa flows, this would be a half pigeon. So the left leg is back out and straight behind you. The left knee is turned downward. And then the right knee is bent to whatever degree you feel most comfortable with. It can be brought in close to the body. Your right heel can be brought in close to the body, or it can be closer to a 90-degree angle. To achieve that 90-degree angle for most of us, you may want to have a block underneath the right glute and sit a little bit higher, and that'll allow you to get that turnout into the right knee with a lot more ease into the right knee, because that can be quite sharp to be at that angle, and it takes quite a bit of warm up and practice to get used to that over time. So if you would like to sit up higher, feel free to do so no matter what the angle is of that right knee. And we'll hold here in our swan position in an upright position, so that our torso is directly over the hips, putting more weight and force down into the hips. But feel that the hips are square to the top edge of the mat, so that we're not opening out to the left. They're both facing like two little headlights facing the top side of your mat. If you would like, you can either keep the weight up higher, or you can also come down and see how it feels to come into a sleeping swan position with the arms extended out long, folding the torso over the top of that right shin. Now you can be fully down onto your arms like this, or you could be up on your forearms as well. Both beautiful options. Changing from upright to a sleeping swan will most likely change on where you're feeling this into your hip. So again, tap into that awareness and see how you're feeling today. Where do you want to place that intention of your movement? And once you find that sweet spot, that edge, take your time to set yourself up so that the full body can relax. From there, you'll find that the joint starts to release. The muscles start to lose their grip. They start to fully let go. To come out, take your time and slowly push yourself up using the strength in your hands and your upper body to bring yourself back up to an upright position. From here, we are going to move into a shoelace pose. And to do that, let's just shift our weight into that right hip and then bring that left leg all the way around until the left knee stacks on top of the right. If this does not feel good, you could also, again, sit up on a block, and that will give the hips more room to breathe. The knees do not need to be perfectly stacked on top of each other. If you have a large gap in between the knees, that is totally fine. You could also take half shoelace, and that would just leave the right leg extended out, and then you can cross the left knee over the top of the right. Again, it doesn't need to be exactly on top. That is just our goal to eventually we may have them stacked right on top of each other. So wherever you're at in your shoelace pose, this might be just enough for you because this is a pretty deep hip opener on both sides, especially on the left. Check that your sit bones are nice and evenly balanced and that you're not tilting from one side more to the other. Sit up nice and tall, and if you would like to feel a little bit more into the hips, then you would start walking the hands forward and bending. Allow the spine to curl over the top of the legs. And you can fold forward. Forearms either all the way down onto the mat, or you can take a couple of blocks and have them underneath the arms as well. And if you took your half shoelace option, again, you can fold forward just like we're doing in the full shoelace. We are going to be holding this for a little longer because as we come out of our fold, I have a couple more options for you. So we won't hold this fold for quite as long as we would normally. So allow yourself to come back to an upright position. And from here, we'll keep our shoelace legs. Take the right hand down beside the right hip. It can either come to the floor or to a block. Play with whatever height suits you. And then we'll lift that left arm up and to the sky. Maybe bring it to the back of the head. Having the arm lifted can get a little uncomfortable and tiring for the arm. So if it's too tiring for you, take that left hand, bring it to the right shoulder, and cross it in front of your chest. Whatever option you are taking, the goal is to keep the chest lifted and shining towards the sky. So you want the heart center to lift up towards the ceiling, towards the sky, getting that rotation in the front of the chest. At the same time, keep that left hip glued towards the mat, fixed down so that you're getting a stretch into that lateral left side body, opening up into the left ribs. Holding here for 3, 2, and 1. We come back up into our center position. Again, keeping our shoelace legs. This time we'll take a twist. Take that left hand behind you, cross the right arm in front of that left knee, and then turning to face behind the left shoulder. We'll hold here for 3 breaths. Feel that breath expand through the rib cage. Maybe getting a little more twist as you exhale. 1 more breath. And on the next inhale, We'll come back to center. From here, let's take those hands behind us, shift the hips back, and then we can unwind the legs. Now let's take a little counter pose. We'll windshield wiper, drop both of the knees over to the left. And this time we'll go ahead and walk our hands out in front of us just for a moment, folding over that left shin. Walk the hands back to upright, bring them behind you. This time we'll windshield wiper over towards the right. Walk the hands out in front of you, folding over that right shin as much as you can. Hopefully you don't have a couch in your way like I do. And then back up to neutral. This time bring both of the soles of the feet towards the mat and we'll cross the ankles. Come through a tabletop, push back into a downward facing dog. Again, let's walk out those feet. Maybe feel a little bit more blood circulating in through the hips and through those lower legs. If you want to settle and try to bring the heels towards the mat, feel free to do so. Maybe you can even lift the toes up off of the mat slightly. On the next inhale, let's draw that left foot up. Bring it behind the right wrist for our swan pose on the left side. Maybe give the back right leg a little look-see. Check to make sure that it is nice and straight and the knee is facing downward. And then the left knee, adjust so that we're not feeling any pain. Check the bend of that left knee. And maybe use a block or a folded up blanket if that feels good to have it underneath the left hip. Starting out nice and tall in our swan pose. Allow the hips to be heavy. Keeping the navel drawn in so that we're still maintaining that action in the core. Shoulders are relaxed. And if you like the sensation that you have in your upright swan, feel free to stay there. But if you would like to lower into sleeping swan, either come into your forearms, or if you would like, you can extend the arms out in front of you and fold over that front left shin. And breathe. Come back to the breath. Allow yourself to soften. Into the face and the jaw. And as always, with kindness to ourselves, we come out of the asana very slowly, using the hands to push ourselves up. Pausing in an upright position. And now we need to transfer to that shoelace position. So let's shift the weight into the left hip. Swing the right leg around, stacking that right knee on top of the left. Or taking your half shoelace pose on this side. So the left leg would be extended out long and then stacking the right knee on top of the left. Draw the feet in as much as is comfortable. Check in with the sit bones so that you're nice and balanced and that we're not tilting to one side versus the other. Sit up nice and tall. And then start to walk the hands forward as you fold over the legs. Keep the hips connected to the mat. They may want to roll forward as you start to roll the torso forward in this pose. But once you come down, whether it's to your forearms or maybe your forearms are on blocks, check back in with the hips and maybe just give them a slight push backward so that they're reconnecting. Again, since we are going to do a couple more postures in this shoelace pose, we won't stay in there too long, but we'll allow ourselves to come back up once more to upright. Inhale, prepare for that lateral lean, and then take that left hand either to the mat or maybe to a block. Bring that right arm up into the sky, perhaps to the back of the head, if that feels comfortable. Otherwise, cross it in front of the chest. Keep that chest nice and open and lean towards the left. Keep the right hip rooted towards the earth. You'll feel a stretch on the outside of that right hip. You're also getting just a slight back bend by keeping the heart shining upward towards the sky. On an inhale, let's come back upright. Release that right arm down. And from here, we'll take that left hand to the outside of the right knee. Bring the right hand behind you as we turn and gaze back behind the right shoulder for our twist. Holding here for 3 breaths. On an inhale, with your own time, we'll come back into our neutral center position. Hands behind the hips, shift back, unwind the legs, bring the soles of the feet to the mat, and we'll drop both of the knees to the left. Walk the hands out in front of us as we just take a little bend over that left shin, a nice little stretch. Walk the hands back in, bring them back behind the hips, and we'll go once more towards the right. Walk your torso over that right shin. And then come back up. Bring both of the soles of the feet to the mat. And then from here, we're going to bring the arms inside the knees and allow the spine to curl. Maybe bring the palms of the hands facing up so that we're not gripping or holding on. If it does feel good, you could gently rest the hands onto the feet, whatever works for you, but we're just going to allow the spine to round, allow the head to feel heavy, and this very introspective and calming forward fold. You can allow the knees to relax outward, gently opening into the hips, relaxing the upper shoulders. Take 3 more breaths in this pose. Starting to close out our class. When you feel ready, start to tuck the tailbone just slightly as you reverse that curl in the spine. Bring yourself back to upright. Pause as you come upright. Allow any of that blood flow, that rush to the head, just to settle back. And when you're ready, we'll return. As we started the sequence, we will also end in a nice cross-legged sit. Take the left hand to heart center, right hand draws to the navel. Connecting once more with that breath body awareness. Giving yourself that embrace, that thanks for coming to your mat today. And on the next inhale, let's lift the hands up towards the sky. Bring the palms to touch and draw the hands through heart center in prayer, gently tucking the chin. And as always, thank you for joining me on the mat today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, leave any comments if you have any questions or any suggestions for what you would like to see in the future. I will happily take them. And as always, have a great day. Bye.